AJ is also at GSE UK. Yeah, so I'm not sure.
Okay, if you need me to
Yeah.
talk about the MOE
Hmm.
check, I can. If you need me to fill in.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, sure. Basically, yeah, let's do that. I will hand that part over to you.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. Um, let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the student user group panel in November. Um, I know many of you probably are at GSE UK. Oh my gosh, the name almost skipped my mind. And you might not be able to join online with us today, but just to be aware that for people are already online or those of you looking for watching this session in replay, that the session will be recorded. Today, we're so honored to have Taylor. Oh gosh, Taylor, you're going to help me with your last name, Rupik.
Hrupek. Yep.
Hrupek. Thank you. Today, we're so honored to have Taylor Hrupek from Broadcom to share with us his experience. So, different from many of our speakers before, Taylor is actually going to share his mainframe experience from the business, from more of the business perspective. Just a little bit of introduction about Taylor. So, he has over 5 years of sales experience from several different companies specializing in telecommunication and software sales. And he sold deals ranging from a few dollars to a few million of dollars. So he recently actually jumped on board after he heard about what is a mainframe and about the mainframe business, and that got him so excited, and he fast tracked his learning about mainframe and actually hired recently by Broadcom as a mainframe business specialist. As a part of Taylor's job, he often planned and assisted with initial deployment and technology sold, working with engineers on projects involving network deployments, CI/CD pipelines, software virtualization, features development. And then, just like he mentioned here in his introduction, that he's recently found his passion, and I definitely feel that passion myself through the prep session with Taylor before today's session. And then he definitely found his passion for mainframe and applied his sales knowledge to become a mainframe business specialist here at Broadcom. So today you will be hearing from Taylor about his own personal story and experience, how he landed where he is right now. So with that, let's get started to the part, and I'd be happy to ask these questions to Taylor. So any moment you have a question, please don't hesitate to leave the question in the Q&A box. And also, Devontae, please also take a look, keep up with interactions for us. And with that said, let's get started. So, Taylor, could you briefly introduce yourself and also your past career experience?
Absolutely. Well, first off, thank you for having me. I'm a very big fan of the Open Mainframe project. I'm excited to be here. Um, you know, my name is Taylor Hrupek. I have, like it said in the intro, over 5 years of sales experience. I don't know how deep in my background we want to go, so I'll try to keep it very high level. But I'm from Minnesota. For the people joining international, it's like basically South Canada. I went to college in Alaska, and I graduated and went into tech sales with one of the large telecom companies in the US. After a few years of doing that, I essentially just learned that I really like working with technology in general, and I really like the complex kind of architecture and systems that are way in the back end that a lot of people don't get to interact with on a regular basis. And that's kind of when I went into more of the software sales, where I was doing a lot of network testing and tools, and I got exposed to a lot of more complex uh, projects and sales that involve like CI/CD pipelines, containerization of softwares, and all sorts of feature development and projects that I kind of had to manage. So basically, throughout that process, like I said, I've been involved with lots of different size deals through lots of different size companies. But I can tell you that my experience so far at the Mainframe is extremely different than everything I've had before, and it's a very great time to be involved. I don't know how much more information y'all want in my background because it's a little boring, but if you have any
No, oh, not boring at all. But I do have like a one kind of like a question to follow this one is so at one point you said you started to find yourself very interested in complex
yeah.
technologies, and then so how did you identify yourself from um, interested in complex technology versus the sales of the complex technology?
So I think it's because what I really enjoy about the sales aspect of working with,
Mm,
software and mainframe, and let me date that a little bit back to how I got involved in mainframe because I definitely skipped that, and that's probably one of the most important parts. Several months and months ago at this point, I met a consultant, like a programming consultant that helped do a lot of software transitions over to Broadcom software. And he kind of started talking about the mainframe. And I was like, oh, you mean COBOL, right? He's like, yeah, 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 but it's a lot more than that. And he's like, well, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I work with a lot of kind of more proprietary legacy software myself. And he's like, oh, you might be interested in learning more about the mainframe, man. So he basically just sent me on my way to go. He's like, hey, here's this cool, there's these cool things available for you to learn more. So you just explore plugin for IBM C Explorer. It's great. It's a great way to learn about the mainframe and all the tools and programs and all the great new ways that the mainframe's been modernized. So I got into that and I loved it. I actually completed the fundamentals and concept within a week. And I met back with the guy that I met. His name is Phil, by the way. He's one of the Broadcom consultants here. Great guy. And he was like, whoa, like I'm really excited that you were looking into it. Not a lot of people actually go into Z Explorer, create an account, and then go all the way through the fundamentals. And even less people do that in the span of a week. Obviously you're very passionate about this. I was like, yeah, I like this stuff a lot. And basically that led to me being interested. It's like, all right, how can I further my career with mainframes? The great technology does fantastic things. What can I do more with this? That's how I kind of looked into. I have a sales background as their sales positions at Broadcom, and the stars aligned, and basically my passion became very clear to the mainframe business specialists management team. They were very impressed with my level of knowledge, my skill set, and my passion. That's kind of how it led me to Broadcom. So sorry to derail. I forgot the most important part of the discussion. Now back to how to get interested in like kind of the technical aspects versus selling the technical aspects. I'd say the thing I really enjoy the most about the sales position is you really are like the, jack of all trades, master of none guy. You have to know just enough to be able to guide the customer in, maybe transition towards a new software, or maybe to like tell them, what the difference between your product and their product and what the impacts are. But you also have to be able to manage several teams. You have to be able to talk financially. So you have your foot in a lot of different places and you get involved with a lot of different business units. So I really enjoy being kind of in the center with the customer, interacting and having all sorts of people on both sides to talk with. Because some people really like kind of customer facing. Some people really like to be like challenged and like writing code or figuring out different issues on the back end and different challenges. So it just depends on what kind of challenges you like is kind of how I describe it, and like what kind of role you want to take, I guess.
mhm. Yeah, thanks for sharing. This is really great. So, since you mentioned that your 1 week experience of going through the Explorer, could you expand a little bit on that, how that week looked like?
It was challenging. I really enjoyed the challenge though. So it was a lot of like, okay, like, yeah, I'm a little familiar with VS Code. Yeah, I'm a little familiar with like Python, all this stuff. And, the first training things were just like, what is a mainframe? What's its history? And I was like, oh, wow, I didn't know the mainframe, like, was this, 60-year-old, not platform, but like 60-year-old piece of technology that been constantly integrated and like adapting throughout those 60 years for this very specific purpose. And I was like, that's really cool. And then we started to get into a little bit more of like, using Zoe and installing that, and then using what JC, like submitting JCL jobs and all sorts of cool stuff like that, like JES, like checking the error codes and all that stuff. And there was a lot of Abbins. I don't know if you're familiar with that, because for the people who have a little bit of mainframe experience, there's a lot of errors that I was like, what the heck is going on? I have no clue what's going on. A lot of Google searches, a lot of YouTube videos, but for the most part, it was doable. Like, I don't have a computer science background, a programming background. I just have a lot of curiosity and passion to learn. And I found that I was there's lots of communities and there's that were available to me, not only from like IBM, but like there's mainframe specialist communities and Discord all over the place that are very passionate about helping people. So I could find an answer very easily for a lot of these issues, to the point where I felt like I can have a very basic fundamental knowledge on it. But yeah, it was challenging. It was challenging, but I really enjoyed the challenge. And I kind of set a goal of like, hey, like I want to do this by the next time I meet with this guy, because I'm really interested in it. I think it's very doable. And for those who have more programming, computer science backgrounds, like it's not hard to do. They make it very easy to understand, like, what is COBOL, how to use it. The only thing I will say I still struggle with after I did the entry level stuff, I was like, oh, I want to do advanced. And I opened up assembler and I was like, oh my God, what is this? And, and that's a whole new level of challenge right there. But, they have very good training available. And I think it's very easy to access. And this is one of the coolest things, I think, is this is stuff you get to do with the mainframe. There's very few people in this world who get access to a mainframe in the first place. And this is one of the ways that you can do it. So all in all, I was very impressed with it. I learned quite a bit.
Mm. That's really awesome. So beyond the, I'm just like since our audience are mostly students and the people new to mainframe, I'm gonna just like drill in a little bit deeper. So after after the Z Explorer, what else? What are those platforms you are leveraging or you're still leveraging? And also
So
beyond that 1 week of initial curiosity, how do you keep the learning going for yourself, like right now, for example?
yeah, so I mean, so after I did that, I was like, okay, I have a huge gap in my understanding of how computers function, and that's going to become a critical thing if I want to continue. So I went back and I was like, all right, I probably need to learn binary and just start building up from there. So I've used a bunch of just free videos online to learn more about like basic architecture and concepts and theories around computer science to kind of help me build up the fundamental layer. And from there, I started to be like, all right, well, I need to start assessing, learning some programming languages. So one of the ones that I kind of found is, very central. You can learn it. You can pretty much learn a lot of other computer languages. When I talk to all the programs, they're like, C is a really good place to start. Learning C is kind of helps you build into all sorts of different areas. So I think there's just so many free courses online for all these, tools, and IBM has a lot of free available courses, and there's definitely a lot of free courses on Coursera about general programming and stuff. But when it comes to mainframe specifically, there is, obviously the IBM Z Explorer and the IBM Skills Depot are two really good resources. There are some other resources out there that I don't know off the top of my head, but it depends on where you're working. If your company, has it, they might have an IntraSkill account, which is something that I have access to since I'm at Broadcom, which is also very useful. It's just a huge documentation of all sorts of mainframe knowledge specifically. So that's something that you could, check with and see if you have access to. Some companies, you might not know, but you might have a mainframe, and if you have a mainframe, there's decent chance that you might have an IntraSkills account that you might be able to access. So that's something good to know. But since most of our folks are here, our students, I think a really good place to start is IBM Z Explore. And then from the community, what they said is once you go through all the Explore pathways, like all of the past, advanced, and extended, you really want to start looking into downloading it's a mainframe emulator. I forgot the specific names. There's 2 emulators out there, and you can actually go in there and it emulates what it's like to do COBOL and write code on an actual mainframe but it's not going to be a real mainframe. But just installing it, setting up, and playing around with it is a huge step forward as well. And those are all free resources, but I think for the most part, just finding the communities available, whether it's through IBM, and I forget the name of it, but I can post it. I can include it in the chat towards the end. But there's a Discord specifically for mainframe enthusiasts. I think it's the C enthusiast community, and they have a lot of very experienced, tenured mainframe professionals answering questions, and they have a career section. But I went to them early on for advice, and I got a lot of answers from them as well.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, we do have one question coming in already, and people asking you to share IBM Broadcom website to get free courses. I mean,
Right.
Taylor did mention, yeah, that's really great. People are ready to take actions. Taylor did.
I'm posting the Z Explorer website right now. I don't know if
Yes,
there's
yes, please.
Broadcom for free course. There are some videos posted, but if I'm going to be honest, I think the most comprehensive initial training is going to be Z Explorer. And there's a lot of programs through IBM that kind of, you can get plugged into IBM from what I've read. I'm not IBM, so I can't really talk to what IBM does. I've just seen a lot of not only materials, but like programs and communities within IBM that will let you become something like there's some programs called like Z Ambassador and stuff like that. I don't know. Do we have any IBM folks on the call right now?
Devontae would be one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I might plug you in a little bit to talk a little bit about IBM stuff, just for a second, if that's okay with you, Devontae.
Yeah, sure. So IBM does have a number of resources available for free, and then also paid courses as well. I would say Z Explorer is the biggest one. So I would say definitely start there. There's also the COBOL programming course that works in conjunction with IBM and the Open Mainframe project as well in Zowie. So that's another good one. And then also the Mainframe Skills Depot, because there are a couple of InterSkills badges that you can earn through the Mainframe Skills Depot for free. You don't need to have an InterSkill account to do those. So I would say look into those are the big 3 from IBM that we offer.
Yeah, and shame on me for not plugging the Open Mainframe training. They have a lot of great COBOL training online too. This is exactly one of the roles of a salesperson, is with knowing where you have knowledge and where you don't, and then plugging in somebody who has a lot more knowledge. So I'm very grateful that Devontae was on the call, or else I would have not been able to give you half that information. Thank you for doing that, Devontae. So I posted the Z Explore link, and then I also posted the Discord. I strongly recommend joining that, posting something on to introduce yourself. And if you want, just tag me, and I'll kind of try to get some more people to interact with your introductory thing. But again, one of the best things about the mainframe is it's actually community. It's a very tight-knit community, a very passionate community about the mainframe and progressing it. And they're all very eager for more people to join the mainframe to continue its legacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, Taylor, I mentioned, I know you mentioned that like there are tons of websites and also YouTube videos you probably went through while you were teaching yourself. Let's work on that together, because one of my like daily job is to actually well captured and edit these resources into a workspace called Mainframe Open Education Gitbook, which Devontae will talk to us in a while. For that platform, it is open source, and we are working to gathering all these wonderful resources into one place. So, and we're going to edit in such a way it's providing the guidance by, like many people like Taylor and Devontae themselves. That way you can have one nice place to get started. And from there, apparently, this workspace gonna lead you to all kinds of resources and places you want to explore. Alrighty, great questions and great interactions. Um, and thank you, Bruno, for validating that IBM Explorer is a great platform. It is. Nowadays, we've been referring it to many new to mainframe people. This is a great place to get started. All right. And for Taylor, I'm going to ask you this next question from both end. So I have the questions listed here. Do you need a technical skill to take on business roles? But I also want to ask this reversed, given the interest of audience. Do you need a business knowledge or skills to take on technical skills? Because a lot of times we say for mainframe world that you don't have to stay only on the technical side or the business side. So these two sides can actually move back and forth. And I think you'll be the perfect person to speak to that.
All right, so let me just make sure I got the questions. The first one is, do you need technical skills to have to
A
be
business
working
role.
in the business
Mhm.
side? I'm a clear case of no, you don't need technical skills to have the business. Business side is a little bit higher up. Of course, having the technical side helps. It helps a lot because, at the end of the day, my job is to talk to customers, and they're often more oftentimes than not system programmers. So
Mm.
being able to talk to them in their language that they understand and understand what's important to them, that helps a lot. So technical background and experience does convey well into a business side because you understand what's important to the customer. That being said, you can learn that through time and experience as well. It's a bit more of a steep learning curve, I'd say, but it's not impossible. As a matter of fact, I think it's very possible, especially if you're passionate about it. But there's going to be a lot more, what did I say? There's going to be a little bit more trial by fire, I suppose, for technical without a technical background going into the business background, especially for like the mainframe software. But it's very possible. I just wanted to be honest that there is going to be a little bit of a learning curve. But on the other side, can you go into which was can you go into a non-technical role or with technical? What was the second question? Sorry, I'm
This
mixing up.
No, it's okay. I just like flipped these two. Do you need, excuse me, do you need a business knowledge to take on technical role in mainframe world?
So, if you're an individual, in my opinion, I think business knowledge helps a lot for navigating your way around the company itself. So if you're an individual contributor, and this is my opinion and my personal experience, it may differ. You can consistently rely on your technical knowledge to progress your career. But if you're looking to hop around to different areas and go into management, suddenly the business side kind of grows more and more with each step. And that's because you're moving, in my opinion, not further away from the technical side, but you're managing more and more people and more business than you are with the code itself. So when you start to go into managing all these other things that go beyond the code, like people or processes and all that stuff, it suddenly becomes more a little bit more about leadership, understanding how to get people to move in certain ways or do certain things, or finance and all sorts of other things. So it's a little bit more complicated, and I think you will learn the business side as you go through. Is kind of the important takeaway. You don't need to have it, but I think it helps a lot to be open to learning it as you go through, because you're going to, if you want to progress higher up in a company, you get closer and closer to the top. It's going to become more and more business and less, I need to write X code, because you have people below or working with you that's their job, and your job is to manage this specific outcome. So I don't know if that answers that question correctly.
Well said. Yeah, at least to me, yeah, I think you did a great job answering just that. And I'm sure from our audience and also from our panel, we all noticed that like Taylor, you actually have fantastic interpersonal and communication skills, and that's the part I want to also dive into. How did you develop your interpersonal skills?
So it's funny because if you looked at me when I was like in high school, I was very shy and introverted. And I think people have this concept of like, oh, you know, you can talk to people well or you can't, or I'm not comfortable. But I kind of think that's a myth and that anybody can become good at interpersonal skills. It's just practicing, and just like you know, if you're programming or writing code, it's you know practice and that builds up your knowledge and ability to do it. And you know, if you were to look at you know, for example, like you know, right now you might just be getting into it, but you know, 10 years of writing programs and codes, you're going to be really really good at it. I wouldn't expect somebody who's just starting off to be at a 10-year level, just like I wouldn't expect somebody who's kind of a little bit more introverted to all of a sudden be able to go in front of a huge room of people and say why they need to buy something and try to persuade them. It's a building process, right? And I think it starts by you know challenging yourself and being going out of your comfort zone, just like how you learn with you know code and programming. It's just you know consistently challenging yourself and building yourself up to a point where you're comfortable doing things that you weren't prior. So for that, you know, interpersonal skills, um, just finding ways to talk to people. It's, you know, and I'm going to be honest, it can be uncomfortable at times. Talking with people can be a little uncomfortable at first if you're not, you know, as confident in yourself initially, but doing it over and over and over again will help. And just like how sometimes you write, you know, bad code, you might not have great interactions sometimes, but getting over that and learning from it and moving on is just as important. So I kind of want to make people feel like there's symmetry between how you learn to write code and how you learn to talk to people. There's processes, there's formalities, there's all sorts of things, and it seems complex at first, but I think you know, however you need to think about it mentally. And one of the things I've heard recently that I really, really like is, you know, when you're talking with someone, just imagine that they want to be your friend and you're their friend. You know, don't let anything else kind of come in your mind. Just think like this person wants to be my friend. They find me interesting, and they want to hear what I have to say. I think that kind of mindset is a great first stepping stone, and just to start doing it, start talking with coworkers, start just having basic interactions. If you want to learn how to do public talking a lot more, one thing that I did a few years ago was Toastmasters. They have online sessions, in-person sessions, all sorts of sessions, and it's just basically giving speeches, talking with people ad hoc, all sorts of stuff. And it's a great way to build interpersonal skills or joining, you know, little communities and just talking to people in person. It's just a skill like everything else, and you can build it.
Yeah, well said. When well done for building the skills for yourself. Yeah, I know for companies like IBM, this is something I learned last night. Like when I visited one of the IBM center site, that IBM have this program. Like if you are interested in challenge yourself, stepping out of the technical role, they would have this system to rotate you to different roles to train you up to be more customer facing roles in the upcoming future, right? Is that the system? I'm gonna ask Devonte here also. Is that something you have at IBM?
Yeah, well, one thing I love about IBM is that you don't have to be in the same role for your entire career, right? If you definitely find curious in another role outside of being technical, but you still get to be a part of whether it's mainframe, hybrid cloud, AI, security, you know, whatever it may be, there are definitely opportunities for you to work with people in those roles and shadow them, become a part of their team, and really understand how the process works from their perspective, right? And I would say that that's one of the great things about being flexible, and then also just being open to trying new things in different roles. I myself have experienced that, so it definitely is good to be at a place where I'm like, you know what, I want to try a different role. I'm allowed to try it without without making like any fully fledged commitments. But the thing about trying something new is that if you try it, you really like it, it can open up new opportunities for you.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I believe at Broadcom, at least me myself, I personally experience this. Like when I talk to my manager, I'm like, I'm interested in taking on certain responsibilities. They would actually seek for opportunities like us and then put me on and allow me to learn from doing what I'm supposed to do. So never afraid to voice what you want to train yourself to be, and then you will get opportunities. This is a very supporting community here in Mainframe. So as long as you want, like Taylor said earlier, if you're as long as you are passionate, you can always find opportunities to grow yourself. Moving on to my next question, and here I specifically use this word, a secret recipe, because I know Taylor, in the past, is that 5 years that you graduated and then got your degree? Yeah, so in the past 5 years, you already had like five, is that five different roles? Yeah, and then now being hired as a mainframe specialist is a really important role to fill. And I know many people being in the MBS role are actually very senior in their career. So my question for you is, what is the secret recipe for you to move through the career and to keep the fast personal growth for yourself?
Personally, I mean, I'm on the business side, but there's aspects that I think still would apply if you're more technical and doing programming or software engineering. Uh, it, it's relationships are one of the most important parts to uh, progressing because those relationships that you build, those are people that are going to, vouch for you. Your whether that's because of your skill or even likability sometimes. They're the people who are going to say, "Hey, I have an open spot on this position. I have like 1,000 people applying for it, but I like you and I want you on my team." Example, that's at the end of the day, relationships. If you're looking to go anywhere, are going to be one of the most important things to really set yourself apart for positions. And those relationships, again, they'll be built on experience and success. Sometimes they're just interpersonal that you're friends with them too. It just really depends. But for me, I really try to be positive with all the people that I interact with, to the point where that they would like to work with me at the very least. And I'm always just trying to grow my professional network at any time I can. Very open to having discussions and reaching out to different people just to learn more from them as well. But having a big network of people that know you and know what you're capable of and are familiar with you to the point where they'd be comfortable having you on their team is an advantage that not a lot of other people have. So at the end of the day, I think relationships really do help move you in directions that you wouldn't necessarily expect. And they're not necessarily going to be like just strictly, upward. They can be in all sorts of different directions. Like if you're, you know, doing programming for, a specific software suite of a product or a product, and you're like, well, hey, I like doing this, but I want to be a little bit closer to the customer. And then all of a sudden, you're talking to somebody over on the product management side, like, oh, we have an open role, would you like me to suggest you for it? And then all of a sudden you're in product management, or all of a sudden you're in training, or all of a sudden you're in sales. That's just kind of how it goes. Is people know people, and they'll throw you in you know, the hat and see if you can be a good candidate for it. So,
Mm,
and they're typically things that you wouldn't expect, which is also kind of fun. So relationships are really important. I think that's how I got a
yeah,
lot of my positions.
yeah. If you don't mind me asking, I know, by building relationships, once you started, people gonna bring you to more people, and then all these gonna give you like very positive feedback. Could you zoom in a little bit at the very beginning, like when you are just a step out of campus and started to building your network? I would imagine the initial phase probably gonna be more challenging than things just
Yeah.
naturally happen. Yeah.
So let's step back a bit to that first kind of just exiting college or kind of just in their last years of college. A lot of it was just whenever I met somebody new or that I was going to be on a team with, I'd reach out and set up a meeting with them for like 30 minutes just to introduce myself and learn more about them, kind of see how I can help them out, what their responsibilities are, what they care about, what they're passionate about, and try to kind of align what I'm capable of or what I care about with them and kind of develop a little bit of a professional relationship. So, early on when I was going through training, I'd try to get 30 minutes or stay a little bit later after the training is done, talk to the instructor, or I would, reach out to future teammates or people on similar teams and just introduce myself, talk to them, learn from them, see what they do. And that helped me really build a strong connection of people uh, that, would help me learn a lot more than I would on my own, tell me a lot of good advice, and then B, they can vouch for me. And I wouldn't stop with just like my peers, whenever I go to a new organization, company, or team, I try my very best to not only get a session with my manager, which you probably should do during the interview process, but also the director and sometimes even the a lot of teams sometimes are very open since you're new. That some companies and some VPs are actually a lot more open to meeting with you and just kind of talking about it because they see it as you're interested in learning from them. You want to progress yourself and you want to absorb the information that they've acquired. So they do appreciate that, and those can be very powerful connections. And that's a really good thing to do. I've talked with a couple of these previous companies, and I have talked with the current director over my company.
Mhm.
Those relationships are a huge help for senior leadership. Sometimes they might not respond, and that's usually because they're really, 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 really busy. So if you don't hear a response from senior leadership, it's not because they don't want to talk to you. It's because they have like a quarterly result that's due in like 3 days that the CEO is going to be reviewing, going through very fine detail, and they're uh, staying up till like 1 a.m. every night trying to prep for it. So it's
Mhm.
not necessarily that they don't want to talk to you. It's just that they have a very limited amount of time. So when you do hear back from them, you should take it as a sign of like this person is very interested in your development in the first place, that they have the time to reach back out to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have a very similar personal experience with what Taylor you just said. So thanks for sharing. So the lesson here taken is definitely reach out. If people don't come back to you, just reach out to more people. Allow people to be very busy, but if they are very interested and you are very interested, you will be connected and talk more about the future opportunities. So yeah, very good piece of advice. And then I think at least what I have here as the last question listed, in the mainframe world, we do set people up with their mentors and help them with their career development. So from your perspective, how would you suggest our audience to better leverage the mentor and resources for help when you need it?
Okay. So first off, let's kind of step back and think about when the mindset. So typically when someone's a mentor, they're very much saying, I want to mentor somebody. I want to
Mm,
spend time with someone teaching them, and this is valuable for me. So I think the first thing you have to consider is there's a very high likelihood this person's very invested in your success. So I think, mindset of like, oh, am I bugging them, or blah blah blah. Like don't think like that. They already signed up to be a mentor. They know what they signed up for. They signed up to help you. So take that. Take advantage of that. That they want to help you first off. Because I know sometimes you think this person's really busy, or this is a dumb question, or what X, Y, and Z reason why I shouldn't reach out. But at the end of the day, like if I'm a mentor, I really do want to spend time with the person I'm mentoring to help them because that's what I signed up for. So ask questions all the time because you might not have another opportunity to ask somebody with that level of knowledge those questions. And they might challenge. They could challenge you and say, "Hey, like I think that you can look this up and find out the answer." That's not necessarily saying, "Hey, don't bother me." It's saying, "Hey, I want you to develop the skill set to uncover these things. And when you're really, really stumped, come to me and let's talk about it. But they want to see that you're learning and growing and that you're becoming more and more self-sufficient as part of this. They want to invest in you and they want to see your growth. So I think that brings me to another thing is, have a discussion about goals, objectives, and all sorts of other things of like how you want to measure your success under them. Because sometimes you have a mentor and you don't have specific guidance other than like, hey, what's the question you can ask, or this and that, and you could build a great relationship like that. But typically, these people have a very good understanding of a path that you can take, or things that you can learn to build up your skill set, and just kind of uncovering that is very useful. Thinking about asking your mentor like, hey, I'm really interested in this. What are some steps I can take to get to the point where I'm sufficient and doing this type of programming, or doing this type of deployment, or learning more about X, Y, and Z. And they'll guide you. And if they don't know, there's a chance they might just say, hey, you should go talk to this person, and then they'll refer you over to this person, and you keep doing that network. So I think building up goals and objectives with them and just having open and honest conversations is very helpful. So I don't know if that is
Yeah,
fair.
very good. Thank you. Thank you. So for everybody here, including our audience, if you have any questions for Taylor, would be the best time. You can also turn on your mic to ask Taylor yourself, or you can also leave a question or comments. We'd be happy to address that. But thank you so much, Taylor, for sharing your mainframe journey and experience with us. There are tons of good lessons to be learned, tons of good advice. Personally, I take quite a few. I'm just like jot down like how am I gonna improve myself when chance present themselves, or create the chance for myself. So thank you so much for your time and your sharing today. And let's just see if we have questions at this moment.
And don't be afraid of asking any difficult questions. I deal with very challenging questions on a daily basis. So if you're like, maybe doesn't know, like ask me, like seriously, like I do not mind you asking a question I might not know, or I might have a hard time answering. Like I kind of find it fun. So take a
Yeah.
shot. I won't be able to answer anything about assembler though. So just all right.
I
Yeah.
don't see questions in the Q&A. Looking in the chat to see if there's anything like, yeah, I don't see any.
Okay. I mean, Taylor
I've meant
will
a
be.
question for the audience.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if you guys don't ask questions, I'll ask questions, and let's see if we can pull out an answer or two. So for those who are joining us today, I would really like to know what your experience with Mainframe and where you're at right now. If you would kindly just, post on the questions form, like, what your background is, where you're located, what you're doing right now. I think that'd be a great first step just to having a little bit more discourse on this. And I'm actually really interested in what y'all are up to. I'm a very big proponent for the Open Mainframe project. And, I might not be the best point of contact, but I'm certainly a really good relationship to have, because I talk with software developers and system programmers on a daily basis at Broadcom and other companies. So I have a great professional network. You should definitely try to take advantage, like as a first step, like just talking with me if you want to. I'm not going to force you to, but the opportunity is here.
That's very good. I have to say, audience, especially for those of you who are going to watch the replay, this
Yes.
offer still stands.
Reach out to me however you want to. I'm on LinkedIn. So that would probably be the easiest way. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Yeah. I do have one question, Taylor. There's a lot of people are scared of starting out their career in sales roles because, there's word on the street that if you don't meet your targets, you could be out of a job. So have you experienced something like that, or how would you advise somebody who's aspiring to get into a sales role, but they're scared of that kind of instability?
I will tell you that sales is sometimes a double-edged sword. You do have to have thick skin to be in it. And I'm happy to provide kind of advice on how to handle it. And it is daunting to jump into. I won't lie, I'll be honest. I've been put on a performance improvement plan before. I've been looking down at like possible, being let go. And I'll tell you another thing that sales is great. It's a great way to earn a lot of money. It's a great way to meet a lot of people. It's a great way to progress inside a company and gain business insights. It's basically like you're getting paid to do an MBA sometimes, more or less. But there is the flip side of the certain companies do have high like quotas and expectations of you. And they can be, challenging. And that is part of sales. And it takes a specific type of person to get into that. So my advice is there's a lot of roles that you can do. You can do sales, you can do technical sales, which is a little bit less about the quota and more about helping on the technical part of the sale. If you're interested in sales and you have a technical background, technical sales usually would be, I'm the one setting up the meetings with the customer. I'm the one who's progressing the agenda for the customer and trying to close the deal. But there's a point in time where we need to have a very technical conversation about the direction that you guys want to take and why this product is better than this product. And I'm not capable of having that. I need to have people who have technical experience insert myself. Just like how I didn't know a lot about IBM's like all their learning tools, and I pitched in Devonte. It's a very similar thing where I'm the one talking about 70% of the time, but I need a subject matter expert to help me close the deal. And that's a really good entryway for, I think, people with technical backgrounds is to go into technical sales, because typically you don't have as much burden of a quota per se. Like there'll still be a payment goals and stuff, but your experience, your technical experience combined with your interpersonal skills that you'll develop is very niche, and not a lot of technical people have that skill set. So there's some advantages you'll find. You'll find that you have a very healthy compensation plan as a technical salesperson, or a technical overlay. You'll also find that there's not a lot of people who can necessarily do what you do, so you have a bit more job security than a typical salesperson as well. So you're more tied to the product, I'd say. So how well the product does is probably how well that you will do. So if you're going into technical sales, I would really do due diligence on the product set, in the market. So you kind of delve into the sales side of it, but also you still have to retain your technical knowledge. I think it's a really, really good first step is to do technical sales overlays. And there's a lot of programs out there that are very, very hungry for people who have both. And I would say that you're probably if you have some interpersonal skills or want to develop them, there's so many Fortune 500 companies that in general, not even for Mainframe, that would be eager to have someone with a technical background go into a technical sales position. So that's kind of my high level advice on the sales for what y'all can kind of look into personally. But yeah, sales would be difficult, and there is a quota over your head. And if you're interested and you have kind of thick skin and you really just want to go straight into sales, seriously message me. I'm a great resource for that, and I can provide great opportunities for that as well. And again, the benefits are make a good amount of money. You're typically one of the highest paid on average sales guys if you're successful, more so than sometimes some of the individual contributors on the programming side, because you're directly tied to revenue for that company. When you're doing well, you're one of the most important employees at the company. But when you're not doing well, you feel a lot of pressure. So I really appreciate that question. It's not an easy question to answer, but I do want to be honest about it.
Yeah, and just kind of piggyback off of what Taylor said, I am a technical sales specialist, so pretty much Taylor just described my everyday life, right? And in being a technical sales specialist, you really do have to be a technical advisor for the customer, right? In terms of if that customer has a problem or has pain points that they need your help solving, you have to be a resource for them. And just like Taylor said, most likely you're going to be working with a sales counterpart. Technical specialist handles all the technical components of the product. The sales specialist handle all the sales aspects of the product. And you really have to work together as a team to make revenue, to make money, and to meet your quota. So it really is about having that balance and being a team player. So that way, your sales specialist does their job, and then you as a technical specialist does your job. In terms of you have to be able to do your research, you have to be able to do your homework on the product, and then also you have to be able to talk to people. You have to be able to reach out, do prospecting, and just articulate the value of a product and why that customer should buy, and then also make sure that you hit those pain points that they're having, because 9 times out of 10 when people go to buy stuff, they're looking to solve a problem, right? So you want to be there to help them. So I would say definitely the technical sales specialist is definitely an avenue to go down. Then also it helps prepare you for later in your career. In terms when you get up into executive and management positions, they're going to ask you like, oh, well, do you have any experience talking to clients? And technical sales and sales can help you gain that experience.
It's
We
so
have a
funny that you
dream team here
so
already
I am
forming.
so wildly amused that you're in technical sales because I was using you just like how I would in a sales call, Devante. Like this is exactly the interaction that you would have with customers. Is I talk for 60% of the time about stuff that's very high level, very general, conveying an idea, kind of giving like a general, for lack of a better term, vibe. And then my real sales pitch starts when Devante talks. My job as a salesperson, I really do believe to get the SME in there and to let the SME talk because that really is what sells, in my opinion. It's the product knowledge and the product solution set. Thank you for talking, Devante. I'm very happy that you're technical sales.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. Here we're all a team, so everybody
Right.
chips in some way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for this sharing, and then thanks for Tiso for a good question triggered a good technical sales pitch that we presented to our audience today. That's really awesome. Okay. We have 7 minutes left, and then Devante, if you don't mind, we can have you quickly talk about MOE Gitbook, and we will use the last bit of the time to once again encourage everybody to join and contribute.
Yeah, sure. So for those of you who are new to this call, being a part of the Open Mainframe Education Project is something that's just truly inspiring. In terms of you get to help contribute to our amazing Git book and this amazing this amazing mainframe community. So as a contributor on the Git book, you get to contribute content around a number of different mainframe topics. You get to work together with us on the core team and then lots of people from around the community. You get to develop learning materials, and that way you can help the future generation of mainframers learn about mainframe content in an open source community based platform. And then also you get to earn a contributor badge, right? Who doesn't love badges? Everyone loves badges. So I would say that that's one of the great things that you can do as a part of this amazing community, and just giving back to those coming up after us, right? I wish I had the Open Mainframe Education Git book when I was learning about mainframes. But the good news is that you can help contribute, and we just love to have you part of the team. We're finding new ways to contribute content that is fun, exciting, engaging, and visual. So I would say if you definitely have an idea that you would love to contribute, reach out to us, and we would love to have you be a part of our team here.
Thank you. Yeah. And then for me personally, as an editor for the MOE Gitbook, guess what I'm gonna do after today? I'm gonna still reach out to Taylor and then try to dig out all the good resources he's been through and still stored in his mind. I'm gonna dig that out and then put that out for everybody, so like we can all go into this workspace and then get these like a very widely nice covered materials for our mainframe learning. So all right, So this is a little bit of the structure of what we have in terms of the MOE Git book. Right now we have 5 chapters sketched out. We have our welcome chapter. We have chapter 1, basically introducing to you what is a mainframe, and one piece I'm working on adding to probably prior to chapter 1 is actually introducing a little bit to what is enterprise computing before diving to mainframe. And then we are currently heavily working on fundamental technology of mainframe. So if you are going through the technology side of the learning, you definitely want to come in and check on what we are working on, and then pass along these good materials that has been helpful to you. And then from chapter 3 to chapter 5, we're dedicated in helping people in finding out what are these different roles in mainframe world, how you can choose the right role for you and your personal development, and also what are those career opportunities you can possibly grow yourself into. So we'll welcome any topics and suggestions. And if you see more of these topics fit or more materials that are going to fit in the in this structure, feel free to pass them along, and we would love to integrate them into the part. And what will be even better is we can sign you up as contributors to this workspace, and you can hop in and do your contribution to this space and earn your badges like Devontae just mentioned. So with that said, do we have questions? This will be the last chance for today. Alrighty. If not for now, you can definitely, we would encourage you to stay connected with us on LinkedIn, especially with Taylor. Again, Taylor's offer stands. Definitely reach out if you're interested in being a technical sales mainframes business specialist, or whatever these roles business related, or the bridging positions between business and mainframe. And with that said, thank you so very much for joining us today, and we will see you next month.
Thank you guys. I
Thank you
posted my
all.
link for anybody who wants to use it.